Every vote counts out there.
It is time for a change.
We are a nation of laws.
Together we really can do things.
Pivotal election night for voters across the state. Good evening. Thank you for joining us for CBS 58's coverage of the 2018 midterm election.
Polls have now been closed for an hour, and we have live team coverage from Madison to Racine.
Wisconsin voting on races for governor, U.S. Senate, House of Representatives, as well as many state government offices.
We've highlighted the issues candidates are running on. Now we're also taking a closer look at who they are outside of the office. CBS 58's Brandon Cullerton caught up with Governor Scott Walker.
This is actually pretty good. It brings back some memories.
That's what I was going to say.
Because I flipped burgers as a kid.
Scott Walker says he worked at the local Delavan McDonald's growing up.
In fact, Paul Ryan worked at the one in Janesville. I worked at the one in Delavan. My wife and I polka.
You polka?
Yeah. Yeah. Throw on some polka music. I'll do it right now.
All right, here we go.
Yeah. I'm going to try one of those speeds. Got a speed?
Well, Scott Walker is known for eating a ham sandwich for lunch every day. Evers has his own tradition, a McDonald's Egg McMuffin for breakfast nearly every morning.
What are you seeing? What trends are you seeing as we get into, the second half of the evening here and waiting for the remaining 45% of the vote to come in?
Well, definitely one of the big keys for Republicans, as always, is Waukesha County. And there we're seeing Walker doing a little bit worse than he did in his previous elections.
Big announcement from the U.S. Supreme Court today about Wisconsin's election maps. CBS 58's Tori Bacchius joins us in studio to break down what was decided. Tori.
In today's 9-0 vote, the Supreme Court voted against Wisconsin Democrats, leaving the state legislative district map as is.
Gerrymandering is as old as the American Republic.
The will of the voters is absolutely paramount in this issue, and the Republicans in Wisconsin violated the will of the voters.
We want to call a race in the 1st District U.S. House. Brian Stile has been elected to replace outgoing Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan. This will be a decisive victory for Brian Stile. He will beat the so-called Iron Stash, Randy Bryce, who burst onto the scene with a YouTube video, a campaign ad that generated thousands upon thousands of dollars in outside donations. That was not enough to carry Randy Bryce. His past seemed to have been a weight around his neck, at least closer to Election Day.
Republicans will keep control of Wisconsin's 1st congressional district. Brian Stile took down Democrat Randy Bryce. And joining me this morning is Congressman-elect Brian Stile. Brian, congratulations on the win last night.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on. I look at it, I've never run for office before. This is the first time I'll take elected office.
Also thanked his wife, called her the love of his life, said he was looking forward to working with Republican leadership. And again, we can't stress this enough. Governor Walker's campaign, at least Lieutenant Governor Clayfish, talking about a recount, but under state law, a state law that was signed into law by Governor Walker last year. If these current numbers hold, it is over the 1% threshold that would allow for a recount.
16 counties and 2 cities have some form of advisory referendum. Alderman Aaron Perry in traditionally conservative Waukesha says the governor's office was concerned about theirs. Was the concern from the governor's office that this will drive Democrats to the polls?
Yes. I had heard that he wasn't thrilled that the city of Waukesha was taking this up, because obviously that's a close race. We've seen the polls.
But a large portion of voters don't know much about the candidates. CBS 58's Brandon Cullerton sat down with both.
Brad Schimmel says his body of work speaks for itself.
We've been able to accomplish great things in our first term.
His opponent Josh Kaul calls it a negative. He points out Schimmel took 3 years to test the state's backlog of thousands of rape kits, but Schimmel says it took time because the state had neglected the problem since the 80s.
I am the first Attorney General in Wisconsin history to test any of these accumulated kits.
Nearly half of the state doesn't know who the sitting Attorney General is, and 70% don't know challenger Josh Kaul. CBS 58's Brendan Cullerton talked to both to break down the race.
36-year-old Josh Kaul is 17 years younger than incumbent AG Brad Schimmel, but he says his experience as a federal prosecutor in Baltimore gave him the experience he needs.
I was a federal prosecutor in one of the most violent cities in the country.
He said he would join a lawsuit against pharmaceutical companies and drop the one Schimmel is spearheading to scrap the Affordable Care Act.
If that suit is successful, Wisconsinites who have pre-existing conditions are going to lose protections that they have. Health insurance companies, once again, would be able to deny coverage to people on the basis of a pre-existing condition.
Thank you for joining us for CBS 58's coverage of Wisconsin's 2018 partisan primary.
Polls have been closed for an hour now statewide. Returns starting to come in for the major races.
We have live coverage from across the state, including a hotly contested U.S. Senate race and a crowded race on the Democratic side for governor.
If you could just hear what's going on behind me, a lot of happy music, cheers already. Even though the race has not been called yet, a lot of people are very excited that he is in the lead.
An 8-person race, Tony Evers, the front runner all year, and he has come through. Let's send it out to CBS 58's Brendan Cullerton. He is live in Madison, where Evers is set to appear and eventually claim victory in this. Brendan.
Guys, a great mood here as the matchup is now set. We have Tony Evers versus incumbent Scott Walker. We're told Evers is going to be here pretty soon. They said he would be here as soon as the race was called, so probably any minute now.
CBS 58 is your home for election coverage. We'll have reports leading up to Tuesday's election and coverage as the results roll in on election night.
CBS 58 talked with Evers after he delivered his victory speech to family, friends, and supporters. Evers says education is a victory for him as he prepares to go against Governor Walker.
Scott Walker has done more damage than he can imagine in our education system. He started out his career by saying, we're going to divide and conquer.
Thank you very much. One of the lessons of the 2016 election, if you want to win, you better campaign in Wisconsin. Republicans and Democrats doing a lot of that 1 week left until Election Day. Former Vice President Joe Biden was in Milwaukee this afternoon, and that's where CBS 58's Brendan Cullerton joins us live. Hello, Brendan.
Bill, this marks the second visit from the previous White House in Milwaukee in just the last 5 days. Former Vice President Joe Biden delivering a similar message to former President Barack Obama, the one he gave on Friday. But Biden really zeroed in on saying these upcoming midterm elections will be about character.
Oh, Lord, thank you, Wisconsin. Was this close enough? Was this close enough for you?